can you tell me why the rock art would be all overlapping like this?
It's probably been painted for a long time, because we don't know how old those paintings are, because, when they were overlapping, people used to come, paint, and move along, and then another group of family would come along and do the same.
And
So that's how the rock art is done.
And why do you think they were painting all of these incredible images on the rocks?
Why? Because people used to come from different homelands, bring ochres for trade, like white ochre, red, and yellow. And, maybe stay for a month or week, do some fishing and dancing. That's how they trade.
And so would there be a teaching element in these pictures? Would people paint things to teach young kids about animals and spirits?
Yes, it was like a blackboard where the elders would paint the animals, or mimic spirits, kangaroo or whatever. They used to tell the young ones, this is what this animal looks like inside his body. Even the meat, like, they used to do cross hatching. As a single hatching, as you see, that's how they told tell the young ones that what the animal looks like.
Yeah,
And
so
then put them on rocks.
So you've raised a few big points there, because one of the things you talked about is mimi spirits. So who were the mimi spirits?
The mimi spirits, they're probably our ancestors, because they've been living since the creation, I think. Because mimi figures, they're like human figures, but they're the ones that taught my people
Right.
how to put on rocks. Yes, and hunt, dance, make ceremonies too.
So I put this one in because I thought this is a kind of an amazing thing that you see. We always, I often show that picture of looking up at the Inulak rock art, but this is what it's like when you're looking down. Can you tell me what these are?
They are grinding holes. They used to grind red or yellow ochre, or sometimes, animal bones, like going and crushing bones and berries, even water lily roots. That's the grinding, like it's like a little kitchen.
It's
And
amazing to see.
yep, that's been done for
This
so
must have been there for so
long time.
many. All right, so we're gonna jump forward. We started a very, very long time ago, but I want to leap forward to the present. And I wanted to ask you, this is a photo from 1989, but I wanted to ask you first, what was it like growing up at Goombalanya?
Growing up was pretty hard, but, didn't know what I was doing, so I can see the paintings that I've done when I was at school. That's where I first started painting, which is the painting tells about my family and myself fishing down at the Injalak.
It's amazing. Not very many people, not very many artists can say they got into the National Museum when they were 7 years old. But I think this is a kind of an amazing image, Gabriel. Like, you've obviously shown Aboriginal and white kids there fishing together. Looks like the hill in the background. It looks like a pretty fun place to grow up.
Yep, it was. It was back in my days. Yes, we used to go down fishing. Yeah.
And would you go down with, you would be at a school with Aboriginal kids and white kids?
Yeah.
And one of the things that not many people would know about, I guess, is that you went through and graduated in high school at School of the Air.
Yeah.
Can you tell all of us what School of the Air was?
School of the Air was really fantastic because back in my days it was good. I really wanted to learn more about, science, social studies, math, and English. It was really good because that's where I started
Yeah,
my.
And it was over the radio, right?
Yeah, it's over the radio. That was in Catherine. Yeah.
amazing. Okay, so from that learning, I'd like to jump to this place.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what is Injalak Arts?
Inulin Arts, it's a non-profit organization. It's run by Binning people, Indigenous people.
We've got how many board members?
We've got board members, about 9 board members.
10.
10 board members, sorry.
Yep. Come on.
And also they run the art center, like the artists and weavers are the members of the Injalak. And that's how we came about getting them as a director of board members.
So can you tell me how did Inulak get started?
It first started as a screen printing. It was down the road, the old shed next to the council office. That's where it first started. Myself and 4 other fellows, we came about and we talked to some of our elders that we wanted to do a screen printing, designs and all that, just to make the community happy. So we then went through ATSIC. That's
The former the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Commission, right? So
yes, that's the one. Yep, we went through that. They gave us funding, and then we came about building this Injalak, where the screen printing started.
So you began doing screen prints, and these are on the left here. We've got 2, pretty early screen prints of yours from 1989 in that first year.
Yeah.
But that's really what you were doing at the beginning, wasn't it? It was really silk screened.
Yeah, silk screen printing. Yeah, textile. Yep, that's what we started first.
But but Goombalanya also has a really long and very proud art making tradition on bark as well. And so I put these up because this is your grandfather, correct?
Yeah. Yes, that's correct.
So can you tell me a little bit about him?
Well, when I was a kid, I was at Kluge-Ruhe and I see my grandfather, you take me out in the bush, see him cut bark and heat them on the fire and straighten them up, put rocks on top, put white. And then when the bark was dry, then he started to strip them off and started painting. Started using white ochre and a grass brush, which is like from a bark, a paintbrush that he would make and paint pictures.
And would he tell you the stories while he was doing that?
Yes, he was. While he was doing that, he also told me the stories of what this painting is about, where it comes from, where it lives, that sort of things. Like he used to tell me when I was sitting next to him when he was painting. So it was good.
For me, I mean, I've seen your grandfather's paintings in so many museums around the world. He's in the museum, in Keep-Ronley in France, and he's in all of the national collections and international collections. And to me, I mean, it's hard to hard to fathom, that this was somebody, so close, 3 generations away. Can you tell us what he was like as a person?
He was just a person, but he was also a clever man.
Yeah. Yep. What do you mean by that?
Like he was like a witch doctor, like
he had powers.
Yeah, powers, yeah. That's how he came about, but he never told me that, but that's what I've heard, but I only see him paint.
When you were talking to the students about him, it sounded like he was he was quite a warm man, like quite a nice man.
He was very nice, yes. Also, yeah, and also he was a ceremony man too. That's how, like, he was really quite happy. And
so there was some other painters also working in Goombalanya at the time.
Yep.
Fella, and this one, your father-in-law.
Yep.
But they weren't really working at the art centre, were they? It was really the young men working on screen printing.
Yes. That was when the Injalak first started.
Were there any men who were working at the art centre?
There was only one person the one that came and started painting at Injalak on the side of the veranda next to the screen printing. And that was the old fellow Thompson Yiliyuri. And he was one of the first painter that showed me how to paint at that time. I was doing both, like screen printing and also painting and learning stories from him.
I have one question for you about Thompson Yiliyuri. How exactly were you taught by the older artists? Like, what was that process like for you?
Because he was the only artist that been hanging around when the building first started. And then he came down and he asked, and he said, yes, why don't I come and sit and paint? And he said, oh, that's okay. So you boys can learn from me. And I can teach you how to paint and tell stories. That's how he came about telling us.
He must have been hugely influential on the young artists at Inulak, if he was there teaching you all. Was he your main teacher?
Yes, he was. Because he's the one that took me up Injalak Hill and told me those stories too. Back in my days.
So can you just tell us, so he would come in with his painting, or he would sit outside and work on his paintings?
Yeah.
And how would he teach you? Would you all sit around him?
Yes, we all would sit around him, and he also would, he used to bring his own bark that he collected. Or he used to take us, show us how to cut bark, flatten it, and then, strip the bark and then paint it, put pictures and then paint. That's what he used to do.
Huh.
He used to take out us bush, collect bark and bring them back.
And today, do you do the same thing to the younger artists?
Yes, we do the same today. Even go collect barks, like didgeridoo or hollow log, clapstick. Yeah.
Is there anything that excites you about the new generation of artists and what they're doing with their artwork?
It's not really a hard question, but
Do you think the new artists are doing good things? Do you
they are
feel
doing the good things, yes.
Same things or different?
It's different because they are learning their own culture, because that is how we teach them. So when they grow up, they'll be an artist. They become an artist. So they know what they are, know where to collect and find. Even the ochres, like the red, white, yellow, yes, we take them at bush, teach them. Because maybe in the future, we don't know.
So,
Maybe they become artists, so.
so at the beginning, it was just Thompson.
Yes,
But,
Thompson.
but things changed pretty quickly, and you were really an important part of driving things that changed in 1991. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened in 1991?
And then 1991, that's when Dorothy Bennett, David Cossey came to Gunbalanya. They asked me and the fella that I was working with, Raya, and they came up and they started talking about a commission on paper, which is, I didn't even know either. I didn't know the paper was good quality. That's how it started.
So they suggested working on Archer's paper.
Yes.
So that's I guess that's an interesting question about why they wouldn't have worked on paper before. And do you think it was just that people weren't really aware that you could get great paper?
Yes.
And so,
first, they had to do just on bark. They didn't know what paper was, first place.
So can you tell us about what happened with the commission and how it all how it went?
So then David Cossey and Dorothy Bennett brought some couple of papers, small ones, except for example, sample for them to see, and they gave them each one, and then they started painting. Like that was the first painting on little pieces of paper. That's how they started, and then when they started painting, but before that, they had crayons, like doing sketches first. And then when they finish, they get this little paper, which is 100% cotton, and they started, painting. It was nice flat surface and light because it was easy, but they said, this is different to the bark because it compared different texture, like different size, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fascinating point that you raised there, because I hadn't really thought of it. Lots of people talk about this commission being important because artists were given paper, and I think often they think, oh, the artists might not have thought of working on paper, but the point that you're raising, that really it was partly a quality thing, that all of these men were really very concerned to be working on high quality materials. It's a really interesting point to make, a really good point to make.
Oh.
So these works are all still here in Charlottesville, and we feel really lucky to have them.
Yeah.
When you were teaching our class, you spent a bit of time talking about this work. So I'm going to ask you can you tell us a little bit about this painting?
The picture that's in this painting is Nimbawai. It's called a rock called Nimbawai. That's what we call it in Kunwinjku. It's just east from Gunbalanya, where you're driving past through Mellon, you see big rock standing. But it's actually a story with Nimbawa and Warakak, a tall rock. And there's another, I don't know what you call that, a monument or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's up north. Well, anyway, the tall rock had two wives and Nimbawa had no wife. So he wandered off north looking for food. Then he probably came about seeing Warakak, the tall rock, with his two wives. Yes, and then when Warakak was asleep, Nimba took Warakak's wife and then head back east. That's where Warakak got up and found that his two wives were missing. So he got his stone axe. He followed the foot track. He came about. You see Nimba and his two wives. So Nimba was busy, couldn't see him. So Warakak chopped Nimba's head. And then the stone axe flew off. And that's how he came about, turning into a big rock. And now he's still standing there.
So today, when you go past Nimbawa Rock, you can see this giant rock.
Yep.
And that shows that's Nimbawa, that's him, right? He's still there.
Still there.
And these are his wives, or not his wives, but
Rock.
They're the wives. They're still there as rock as well.
Yeah.
And when did this all happen?
That's probably the stories of how Thompson Illigeri told me this painting, because he knew the story from his stepfather, old Paddy Compass, told him.
And it just gets passed on forever and ever and ever.
Yes.
But it's all still there in the landscape as well, isn't it? It's all still there as part of the country.
Yes, it's part of the country, and the story stays in the country. Yeah.
I was wondering if you could talk more about dreaming and how you incorporate that in your painting.
The dreaming is like beyond the painting, so the dream side. Dreaming. It's a very special to us because we know it's a dreaming because it belongs to our homeland. That's where the dreaming is from. If it's a painting that I do for someone's homeland, that belongs to that person. So if it's my dreaming, I do my own dreaming, that belongs to me because it's in the country and where it belongs. So
I'm going to skip forward a bit then, because I think you've jumped to a question. This is a big question, Gabriel. Yeah. So this is your country here.
Yes.
So can you tell us what you're painting in these works?
Those paintings you see is part of my dreaming, and what I painted there was just to show people where the dreaming comes from and who does that paint, who the that's the dreaming belongs to. Like this one here, apparently it belongs to me and my father and my great-great-grandfather. It's in our homeland, so that's how I came about like doing painting, just to show the world that what dreaming is about and where it comes from and who does it belong to. So it's like sharing my stories.
It's a very big, complicated idea, though, because in painting this is your country, and
Yeah,
so in these paintings you're showing your country,
yeah,
you're showing how your country was created,
yep,
and you're showing, I guess you're showing that your authority to paint that, because you can't
yes,
paint other people's country.
yeah,
That's a lot of responsibility in a painting, isn't it?
yes, it is.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in these paintings?
These paintings you see is the baby dreamings. I've got three, like handicapped, and people when they have twins, some just normal babies. And it's not with that, but I've got yak to the water spirit or mermaid. They look after those three dreamings. They live in the water holes where there's a lot of pandanus. So man can't swim, only women. They're allowed to swim.
So if we break that down, right, in a
Yeah.
lot of these, you've got these circles, and so these circles relate to the water hole.
Yeah, water hole, yeah, like the
meaning. And so you said, so these here, these water lilies in these water holes, what do they relate to?
Those dreamings, they live in there.
Right.
The spirit.
These York spirits.
Yes, York spirits. Yeah, they live in that water hole.
Right.
They're like the keeper
of the spirits, of the baby spirits.
Yes.
Huh. And what happens if women go swimming in that water hole?
Well, that's a problem where they get pregnant.
Right. Did you say that's a problem?
Yeah.
Oh, no, always a problem.
Yeah, there's always a problem, yeah. But if they wanted to have a baby, yes, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can swim in that water hole because it's special water for them, but not for men, no.
No, but then does that then connect the baby to that water hole?
Yeah, connect to that water hole, connect to that land.
Right.
And it's true. We had a lot of white people there a few years ago, weren't they?
And all got pregnant.
Yes.
There you go. Some people may
want real story of truth, yeah.
Rush up there now. So, when we started talking about art, we were talking about rock art.
Yeah.
These are two of your more recent works. The one on the left is at Kluge-Ruhe, and the one on the right is from your last solo exhibition, I think. This is a really kind of interesting new style of work that you've been doing. Can you tell us a little bit about these paintings?
So those two paintings, it some kind of relates to the rock art, because some of my art has been changed through cross-hatching, and now it's a single hatching. Even though that I know the rock art up on that hill at Injalak, what we just talked about earlier, the overlapping.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, well, that's how I came about with my idea, and that's how I changed my style of painting.
To bring in all of these overlapping different sort of styles and ideas. Can you tell us why you've used blue in this painting?
The blue is a bit funny because I know that Emily's laughing too.
All right. Well, Emily, why is it so funny that there's blue?
Blue, yeah. So another one like there's a lady who's a professor now. She was just asking me. She said, "Why don't you use a record blue on your painting because you're doing a nice work like a rock art style. Maybe I might get one to bring it over so you can try." So that's how I started painting. And then she brought me this blue, record blue, and now I painted that.
So this is quite funny because so Emily's PhD advisor, Sally May, has had a long association with Inulak. And so Reckitt's blue is found on some of the rock sites around Goombalanya, isn't it? Not on Inulak Hill, but on some of the other ones.
Kakadu and Mount Borrowdale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so, Reckitt's blue, for those of you who don't know, is a laundry, a whitening agent that was used in the mission times. And some enterprising artists decided it would look great on the rock art. And so you've recreated it there. This painting on the right is interesting because amongst many very traditional motifs, there's some unusual ones. There's a gun down here in the right corner. Can you tell us why you did that?
Because probably, when the buffalo shooter was here, he had his rifle, and my people like seen the gun, never seen a gun before, so they thought they would paint a gun on the rock. So that's how I painted that gun. Even a boat in Lake Macusson, which is they never seen a boat first time, but that's my idea of painting. That's how I came about, like putting something different. But there are still some rock art of guns, boats, motor car. So that's how I painted.
I think that's fantastic, and I guess a lot of people wouldn't realize that the rock art has all of these, very recent images. I thought when you said to the class, and you said again today, that it was like a big blackboard, I thought that's it's an interesting way to think about it. The world's most beautiful blackboard.
Yeah.
So, well, would you mind if we took a few of the questions that people have been asking?
Yeah.
Lots of questions. I'm going to ask Callista and Alexis to pick some out.
Yeah.
Well, there's one kind of relating to what we've been talking about paint in the rock art, and it's asking, how far did you have to travel to get different colors for the rock, different ochres?
If it's like Injalak Hill, they have to travel far and wide. It's long distance walk, traveling back to the homelands. And, they would know where them ochres were. Dig them out like the white ochre, the yellow and red, and bring them back. That's how they used to do back in those days, but now it's much easier. We drive and drive back the same day.
But you don't really find these around Goombalanya that much, do you?
No, there's no white ochre, red ochre, yellow ochre around Gunbalanya, no.
So those rock artists would have had to bring that from somewhere else.
Yeah, from somewhere, yeah, from their homeland. Like traveling for ceremonies. You know, when they had ceremonies here, maybe Gunbalanya, they had to bring things that they wanted to do something, you know, like trade.
And these are still the ochres that you use in your paintings today?
Yeah. We still use the red, white, and yellow. But the black is from fire. It's a charcoal.
We have another question that has to do actually with the rock painting. An anonymous attendee asks, it seems not to be a problem to paint over someone else's work, partly obscuring it. Gabriel, can you say something about this?
Well, people, you know, like for me, I can only paint on paper and bark, but I can do that from my head. As you can see this picture here, it's my own style of doing my own rock art style painting. But on the rock, you know, people used to come, camp, stay, paint, and move along, and then someone would come and paint on top of it. And then the layer and layer of paintings would go on. Maybe a month, week or so, you know. That's what people used to do when they used to bring their kids or take them up the rock. They used to paint that other painting on top of it and telling them the stories and what and how and where to catch.
We also have a question from Louise asking if you've been involved in making any new fabric designs this year.
Hey, wait a tick. Is that Louise Hamby? Let's get Louise Hamby in to ask that question herself. Louise, are you there? No. So did you hear the question, Gabriel? Louise Hamby, who many of our Charlottesville people will know, is a great expert on eyebrow. Oh, there she is, Louise.
Yeah, hi.
Hello from Canberra.
Yes, we have to have a few Australians to join in the conversation. So, Gabriel, thank you very much for your talk today. And I'm just curious what's been happening in the print workshop and if you have been doing any new prints in the past year with all the COVID and people not being able to leave.
Actually, we've got a couple of new designs that just been made early this year and last year. New designs.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Well, you have to put me on the list so I can get some.
Well, Emily's the one to talk to.
I'll do that. No worries.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, it's great to have you here, Louise. It's wonderful to see you. Alexis, have you got a question?
I do, kind of going off that. How has COVID impacted Injalak Arts?
Actually, it never had affected Gunbalanya, but we're trying to do something to try and make it really good for the art center and the artists and weavers.
Yeah. But we had to close. There's no tourists allowed at the moment.
Yes.
To keep COVID out. So we hadn't had any tourists for over a year?
Yes, over a year. Even we're trying maybe this year. I hope it works or may not work for us. But it's good to see people, you know, coming and looking at the art center, artists, weavers, even doing some hill tours, which would be great for them. A good experience to come and see Gunbalanya and the art center. And the art.
have a question about why painting is important to you and what it means to you.
The paintings that I do, it is really important to me. It's important for my culture and my people, because that's part of our day-to-day life, you know, because that's how we live, to create and paint, you know, make a living out of it.
I know that you have a lot of stories to tell through your paintings. I was wondering if you have a favorite story that you like to tell.
My favorite story is, I would like to tell you, is the turtle and the echidna, how the turtle got its shell and the echidna got its spine. It's a Dreamtime story of the old fellow who told me that story, old Thompson Yilligiri. You've probably seen him in the picture. Well, he told me that story. Yeah. Which is I like telling the stories to the school kids, because it's not a really sad ending, but it's good. That actually, like, really good story, like the long-necked turtle and the echidna, because the echidna had a baby, a boy or a girl, I think, but they never mentioned that. But anyway, they both went out hunting, you know, and they started the echidna said, "Oh, I'm hungry. Could you look after this baby while I go look for food?" And then the echidna went out looking for food. And then the turtle was looking after the baby echidna. They were sitting there for about 6 or 7 hours, a bit long, I think. And then the turtle got hungry. So the turtle had to kill the baby, cook it, and then ate it. And then when the echidna returned and told the turtle, "Have you seen my baby?" She said, "No." And then the echidna said, "Oh, you ate my baby. So you and I have to fight." So they started fighting. So then echidna went and got pieces of rock and started throwing rocks on, hitting her. And then echidna and the turtle started to get bamboos. She started spearing her. And that's how they became about turning into animals. And so today, the anteater hides in the stone country, and the turtle lives in the mud, floodplain. That's how the story is.
So I'm going to ask you one last question, Gabriel. It's
Yeah?
been so amazing. It's been so incredible having you as a virtual fellow this year, and I hope we can keep doing it every year. I hope that we can send students up to visit you and send visitors up to visit you, because you're such a generous knowledge holder. You're so generous sharing the knowledge that you have about art and life and everything. So I want to ask you, Gabriel, why is it important for you to share this with the world?
It's like, for me, I want them to know that I have been involved in art history, like paintings and stories, what I've been told. That's what I would like the world to know, that I am sharing the knowledge and the culture to other people. And I really want them to know what the stories are. It's not just me keeping that to myself. They need to know and understand. That's what I really want to do. I just want to share my stories to others, from young to old.
And what do you think? I mean, you've now, you have given 3 lectures in the last 3 weeks to the art history students at the University of Virginia. Why do you think it's important for them to learn about binning culture?
Because binning culture is true and correct culture, because it's really true, and it's got the feeling of how you get the touch of, by seeing someone telling you the stories, you get the feeling of how you feel inside. And you know that you are within that part of the world with Indigenous culture, because it's really important. That's how you learn to listen and hear. Someone saying that it's good to make you happy and make others happy too, that you are learning the Indigenous culture, because it is really important. And that's what I think we should be all sharing the knowledge and understanding to one another.
Well, you are definitely doing that, Gabriel, and I just would love to just thank you again for doing such an incredible job sharing your culture with the world. And I would also like to thank Emily and Inulak for helping to facilitate this fantastic virtual fellowship. And of course, to thank the Mellon Indigenous Arts Program at UVA for allowing us to bring you to everyone today. So thank you so much, Gabriel. I'm sure everyone in the audience would like to give you a big round of applause, and hopefully they'll all be heading up to Goombalanya very, very soon.
Yep. Looking forward to seeing them.